Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Aquí tienen el horario para hoy, martes el 22 de octubre. Learning target for today's class is to continue our conversation about the environment, its problems, and propose possible solutions. Your warm-up question for today: ¿Cuáles pasatiempos te gusta hacer al aire libre? What hobbies or interests do you like to do outside? Potential answers: me gusta, and then we have an action verb that needs to come afterward. Me gusta jugar al fútbol con mis amigos al aire libre. Me encanta. I love. Me encanta caminar con mi perro al aire libre. If you could share just a couple of things that you enjoy doing outside in español at your warm-up question for today, and to share with your elbow partner as well your responses. We are going to circle back and review again. Chapter 1 is where we started last week, the new unit on nature. The objectives for this unit: to discuss environmental problems, propose solutions, to express opinions and suggest solutions about problems in our community, and to articulate all of these in the subjunctive mood. We went over the vocabulary for nature. I gave you guys a handout last week that had a glossary of all these key vocabulary terms. You can find extra copies on Canvas or in class on the table adjacent to my desk. We utilize this vocabulary, first of all, categorizing them in or placing them in these different categories: plantas, animales, tierra and cielo, plants, animals, terrestrial or pertaining to land, and then celestial or pertaining to the sky. We identified the word that did not match in these groups, the word that was the outlier, for example, gobierno en número uno, peligro en número dos, población para número tres. And we last left off with activity 6. I'm going to share the answers to these, as I think for some of you we were not able to get through the entire activity. And we're using the glossary here on the right hand side and paying particular attention to the context in how these words are used. Collocations, collocations being the likely grouping of words that tend to appear in tandem with one another. And then in terms of how the verbs are conjugated, as all of these are verbs, how they are conjugated in context. That'll help you guys navigate this activity. Correct answers. Again, this is activity 6 on page 22. Si vemos basura en las calles, if we see trash on the streets, la debemos recoger. We need to pick it up. Recoger, to recover or to pick up. And that makes sense here in the infinitive because we already have a verb conjugated there. Debemos meaning we must or we need to. La debemos recoger. Los científicos trabajan para descubrir nuevas soluciones. Scientists work in order to discover new solutions. This right here is a collocation that we would expect to discover to be followed by solution, especially within the context of scientists working. And then left in the infinitive, descubrir. Es necesario que todos trabajemos juntos. It is necessary that we all work together in order to resolve los problemas del medio ambiente, environmental problems. Número 4, debemos cuidar. And you're probably thinking, because cuidar means to take care of, but this is conjugated here. So we can't use this because we already have a verb conjugated. Moreover, that verb is conjugated in the nosotros form. This verb, cuidan, is in the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. So that doesn't match in terms of the grammar. What does match grammatically is proteger, because it's a verb in the infinitive just like number one. Two verbs together, second verb stays in the infinitive. We must protect. Debemos proteger el medio ambiente. We must protect the environment porque hoy en día está en peligro. It is in danger. Muchas leyes nuevas, many new laws, controlan el nivel de emisiones que producen las fábricas. Many new laws control the level of emissions that factories produce. And that grammatically fits nicely, not only in meaning, but in grammar. Controlan is an ellos, ellas, ustedes ending, which we would use if we're talking about a plural subject in the third person. Number 6, las primeras civilizaciones se desarrollaron cerca de los ríos y los mares. Early civilizations, or the first civilizations, were developed near rivers and seas. Todas las personas, blank, por la contaminación, están afectadas. Everyone, todas las personas, is affected or are affected by pollution, por la contaminación. Home stretch, number 8, 9, and 10. Los turistas deben tener cuidado. Tourists must be careful to not, and then here it would be a verb in the infinitive. Contaminar works here. If you put destruyen, you can make an argument for that, to not destroy the places that they visit. Although this expression, tener cuidado de, is followed by an infinitive, that's why contaminar is the correct answer. But if you put destruyen, because you're like, hey, destroy makes sense, and destruyen conjugated correctly according to our subject, I would take that. Either contaminar, which is technically the correct answer, or destruyen for number 8. Finally, number 9 and 10, podemos conservar los recursos. We can conserve resources. See if reciclamos. Reciclamos el aluminio, el vidrio, y el plástico. If we recycle aluminum, glass, and plastic. And finally, number 10, la contaminación y la deforestación destruyen el medio ambiente. They destroy the environment. Might be able to make an argument for están afectadas. Might be able to make an argument for controlan. Those are really the only 3 that grammatically make any kind of sense here, but the correct answer would be destruyen for the last one. And when you're doing these, guys, you're doing what I'm doing, which is piecing together the grammar that makes sense. Can you do it as proficiently as I can? Well, no. You don't understand all of the words or recognize all the vocabulary yet. But you do recognize cognates. Words that look like, sound like, and mean the same thing. And if you can piece together 2 or 3 cognates to get the gist of what's going on, so that you know semantically, semantics in terms of the meaning of the words, which one makes sense, and then grammatically looking at the subject and how the verb should be conjugated according to the subject, well, then you're doing exactly what I would expect. All right, for the rest of the agenda, we are going to take a look at a reading and a video. Although period 3, you won't have the opportunity to watch the video as you don't have access. Although if you're familiar with how to get on to Clever, get on to Vista Higher Learning, and for you guys, you can get on to the E version of the textbook. I don't think you're going to have all these available. You'll just have Spanish 3, and then clicking on it, it'll take you to probably the e-textbook, which looks like this. I don't think you'll have all of the other resources that I have. And then you're able to play it just fine. Once you get to the reading, which is on pages 24 and 25, you'll see a video icon here in the top left-hand corner. and that'll play the video.
Estamos en la naturaleza.
If you don't have that ability, you can follow along just fine. You can follow along just fine in the actual textbook, again, on page 24 and 25. The video is called Una excursión a la sierra, and you guys have comprehension questions that you're going to answer. And let's take a look at those together on page 26. ¿Cierto o falso? Indica si lo que dicen estas oraciones es cierto o falso. Si es falso, corrige por favor las oraciones falsas. So according to the script, right, that you guys see here on pages 24 and 25, according to the video script, Daniel quiere ver un oso pardo. Is this true or false? En la Sierra de Madrid hay muchísimas cabras. ¿Cierto o falso? Juanjo dibuja plantas. Daniel les da comida a los peces porque cree que tienen hambre. La playa del lago está llena de basura. Valentina y Olga Lucía no ayudan a recoger la basura y Manuel se quedó en casa. Are these statements true or false based upon the reading? If they're false, correct them to make them true. For example, Daniel quiere ver un oso pardo. Damos un vistazo acerca de Daniel, acerca de un oso pardo, y parece que no, parece que Juanjo quiere ver un oso pardo. So, número uno, falso, Juanjo quiere ver un oso pardo. Just change Daniel to Juanjo. For number 2, en la Sierra de Madrid hay muchísimas cabras. Damos un vistazo. We're scanning for cabras. Aquí en la sierra hay una sobrepoblación de cabras, dice Juanjo. Sobrepoblación, if you're using Word Reference, which is an online academic resource, if you put in sobrepoblación, well, you know población means population, right? Sobre is over. So, no English translation, I highly doubt that. It's overpopulation. And that would be, that would back up that statement, right? That would back up the statement that there are a lot or very many cabras. So, cierto for number 2. Juan dibujo plantas. You can just see from the drawing that indeed would be true, just based upon the reading here and the picture. Que sí, Juanjo dibuja plantas. Cierto. And then do the rest of those according to the reading. Number 2, identifica quién dice las oraciones equivalentes. Ascertain as to which character makes each of these statements. You're going to do the same thing as activity 1, just jotting down the name of the character. Activity 3, put these events in chronological order, just numbering 1 through 5. And that is all for the textbook activity. For the rest of class, you guys have time to work on the Dia de los Muertos project. Remember, that is due for you guys A days on October 30th, which is next Wednesday. And then watch the video that's associated with that assignment. Take a look at the project description and the rubric and the examples that I've provided for you guys on how to complete that assignment.